Ninja. Hello, everybody. This is the one and only Mr. LP Stephen Sykes of Enliven Global Media, and I'm doing my non-Kevin Samuels impression as I go on today. And today, we just wanted to do a little what we call a true pop-up show today, and have some fun. Just go over some issues and things as we go through the holiday season. And today, as always, we have some wonderful guests. Just to see how things go and then discuss some issues. First and foremost, I have my road dog, my partner, my side piece that's got my back every single time and everything I need. I have the wonderful Queen Raw Silk. How are you doing today?
Good evening, everybody. Look, watch that side piece business. My husband is in the other room.
I was thinking about my gun. I guess I just say your right hand side of the gun, your side piece. That's what I was thinking. But I'm sorry, I'm not hit with today's wording. I'm just a little old fashioned, I guess. I'm sorry. Apologies to Randy, so forth. Please forgive me. But now going forward, we have the other wonderful queen of the program, all the way from the North Pole. We have we have the wonderful Miss Linda Chang. How are you doing today?
I am wonderful. I'm not that far north. North Pole's a little too cold for me.
Okay, there's no problem. Well,
Exactly.
I think this is the
Canada's good
first.
enough.
Okay, that's no problem. I think this is actually the very first time you've in all these years. Is this the first time you've been on the show with us?
It is. It
Oh my
is.
gosh, this is really, 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 really okay. I'll take that.
I've
We'll
sent,
take that.
I've sent comments, but I've never actually come on the
You-
live.
Actually, yes, you have sent the comments, but it's the first time it's live. So
That's right.
we have to keep the rules in place. Raw Silk usually doesn't like it as well, but we must keep our language of most kind and of that nature. So we go from there.
Keep it PG.
Well, first and foremost, again, thank you all for joining us. One of the first things I wanted to join in and just topic of this thing is the holiday season is here, and this is one of the more peculiar, more not of new, but new for many people in terms of how they deal with it with the global pandemic. Second time around for this year, so I wanted to see how is everybody coming along this holiday season, and what are they looking forward to this year, and especially for those who are not. Um, who may not be, vaccinated, non-vaccinated, or just how we're engaging with our families and such.
I think that families are just thankful to be able to be present, okay, and know that
Yeah.
everybody is well and you know what I'm safe in, even if you feel compelled to get together. We have all mastered this land of virtual world and
Mhm.
we do Zooms for everything. I mean, I've even attended a funeral via Zoom now. So I just think that it's just, something that's new and different, but it's also moved us into another way of doing things. I know in the past a lot of people feel bad when they can't travel, they don't have the funds to travel, or someone may be sick or whatever, and now being able to do things virtually, it's just a matter of just logging on and they can still be present.
Yeah,
Man,
I totally agree. Zoom has really cornered the market where that's concerned. Between Zoom and Google, Google Duo, families get together all the time. I think I've spent more time with my family via Zoom or Google Duo than I have with any other time before the pandemic. So
uh, very indeed. I noticed that, well, I won't say I, but a lot of people are having a hard time financially, just trying to make ends meet, much less, trying to get shopping in holiday season with that, and also just food and getting together. One of the first statements I've made previously is that we need to focus more on, instead of just the gift giving in terms of the food and I'm sorry, instead of just buying toys and whatever else that we may want. We need to focus more, go back to what we used to do, especially within our various communities in terms of buying food and making sure people get back and forth to work. But that concept seems to be lost. Why and
I
what can we do?
mean, yeah, it's totally lost. And me and my mother-in-law was having a conversation similar to that today, that the village has become completely commercialized. Families used to get together. I'm going to tell my age now, but I remember Christmases of popping popcorn with my grandmother and stringing them on a thread, okay, and wrapping them on a tree. Now we know how yucky that
And
sounds
coloring
now, but
them and
back then
coloring
when we
them.
were kids, exactly, that was fun. Even right down to Easter, the true coloring of eggs and letting them sit. And so that's been replaced by a lot of commercialism, a lot of I gotta one up you. And so when we
Commerce
live
is
our life in
100%
that
taking over.
one up you, exactly, we start spending a lot of unnecessary money. I don't think that this pandemic has put people in financial straits. I think we were already in financial straits.
Mhm.
We overspend, overcompensate, do a lot of wasting, and so because of that, we weren't prepared for this pandemic when it came along. We lived life as if like, you know,
Money's
hey,
always
we'll
going to
just
be
do it.
there.
We'll get right. We'll just pull that money up out of the sky.
I think I agree with you there. So we weren't prepared for this at all, financially or otherwise. But I think if this pandemic has done nothing else, it's shown us how unprepared we were. And then now we're looking at inflation because of the our being unprepared, right? Not just as a community, but also as commerce goes as well,
Mhm.
and farmers and so on. I mean, here in Canada, a lot of our farmers had to throw out some of their surplus because they weren't selling it because of the lockdown. And then
Mhm.
now they don't have enough to plant for the following years, right?
Mhm.
So it's expected that this spring coming, inflation is going to, like, prices are just going to skyrocket. And they're already doing so now, right? Um, so people are struggling now. Can you imagine what it's going to be like this time next year?
I think it's a
Exactly.
double. I'm sorry, Mr.
No,
LP.
go
In
ahead. Go
response
ahead, ma'am. Go
to
ahead.
what the Queen said, I agree with her, but I also think that it's a double-edged sword. Because think about this: there are
Mhm.
households now that are making more money than they've ever made in all the years that they've been employed. Okay, because of the extra benefits and stimulus money and things of that nature. So it's unfortunate, but there are some households that have actually benefited from this pandemic. And then on the other spectrum, like Linda said, there's some businesses and families that have been almost, if not completely wiped out, lost their business, lost their jobs, or not been able to, uh, come off of this spiral that they come. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what lessons was learned during this pandemic, and what do we do as people to prepare ourselves for the next pandemic, because we can always assure that as long as the United States government is in play, they're going to create something else to wreak havoc. So again, I just think that this was a time for us to learn and to prepare and to become more self-sufficient and stop being codependent.
I feel
Definitely.
that we need to make sure and keep our eyes out for how things are in place, and how, again, this is where we do not utilize technology to its fullest, in terms of how we do not have to rely on the paper getting a bunch of coupons, and what we need to sift through hours. There's coupons and specials that do come to your email, that you can get to your phone, that can get to your text, and the companies are more apt to say, "Hey, you shop for Gain or whatever detergent or tissue, you let us know. We'll let you know when the specials are out." So companies are finding more ways to reach out to you. Of course, they're in the business to make money, but at the same time, there are many people who are not looking to perform in a atmosphere of Black Lives Matter or whatever issue, performative action is the term that I would say. So we need to be aware of what's out there and available. In addition, things do not have to be high. It was already proven a billion times over that the supply and demand does not mean just because I have less of something, I need to charge more, just to make money or decrease the demand or what have you. That's not really how things in life work. That was only built by rich economists that would say, okay, how can we keep the quote unquote government going in their mind? Or the economy as well, and keep control. If you value your products for what it is, if the cost of eggs is for, now granted, cost of manufacturing things obviously go up, but if it's 239, that does not mean it needs to go to 550. We saw last year and then this year we're struggling with about chicken and other natural supplies, not just because the ports are full throughout, not just here in the U.S. but in the world because of lack of being able to get it out, but also the aspect of uh, we need to just be able to be aware of what's there. And there are many people who are gouging and just letting things go to waste. I'm a single man. I don't need to buy 20 packs of meat at the store and then walk off and act like it's all okay. Unless I'm getting it for church or restaurant or something like that, I don't need to do that. But there are people who are doing certain things like that, and we need to be mindful of those things.
But I think to your point, one of the thing we have to learn the difference between a want and a need. Okay, because normally we live our life on I buy because I want and not because I necessarily need. And keep in mind, there is a scripture said, "Teach a man to fish." Okay, so the fact of the matter is, this pandemic should have taught us the self sufficiency of possibly growing your own garden, raising your own chickens, okay, raising your own farm, learning. I back when I was a kid, we sat with my grandmother and made soap. We sat with my grandmother and made detergent. Okay, these were things that was instilled
Right.
in us that modern generations don't have. The other thing is, to your point, Mr. LP, is that somewhere this sense of entitlement that our village in particularly has, okay, we've lost the whole foundation of when I was a kid. If the neighbor had bread and my mom had meat and Linda's mom had mustard,
Yep.
we all could
Yep.
eat. Okay.
Yep.
Now is I got to get mine. I got to get mine and forget yours. There's no endurance. There's no self sufficiency. I mean, I even argue the fact when I get people because I've worked in property management calling about no heat. There was never a time that we were without heat. We turned on the oven. We did what we had to do. We boiled water. There was things that all of a sudden the village done forgot how to do all of these things because we think that we've arrived. We think that because we're allowed to work on Wall Street and we're allowed in corporate America and we're allowed to buy Birkin bags and all of the other things, that somehow when Obama got in office, all of a sudden, jackpot, we've won. And this pandemic has showed us all of the disparities in our village, all of the health challenges, all of the challenges. The band-aid has now been ripped off. So now we are charged to make a difference. And if we don't utilize this as a tool for change for ourselves, we're always going to find ourselves behind the eight ball time and time again.
Amen. Amen. And we need to find a way going forward. We need to find a way to realize how money works. I don't think that people, like you mentioned before, and both of you ladies mentioned, that we don't realize how money works and how it's going to work in the system. Some feel that it's a class system, and then some maybe in some aspects there is a little bit to that. But at the same time, how as with our groups, various subcultures, money in different areas can greatly impact how the influence being politically, socially, or just even what's available within your community. And as soon as we understand how true money works, it's going to be the better. Once I saw a video about a millionaire and a billionaire, excuse me, and I posted. And I thought it was something interesting because I was aware of it, but I don't think many people got it. That do you pay let me ask you this, and I'll put it this way. Linda Silk, if I borrow $20 from you,
Mm,
from each of you, and I got $40, and I can go buy, and then now that I got $40, do I pay taxes on that?
yes.
Okay, no, I'm just meaning you give me $40 right now. Okay, do I pay taxes if I got 40? Do I report that as income? Because
No.
Well,
no. Okay,
you don't.
so now here.
However,
Well, hold on. Here's where we're going and with it. So now it's more plausible for the banks to say give the money to people who can quote unquote supposedly qualify in their mind of who they want to, but you don't necessarily always pay the taxes on money that you initially borrow. So what they do is you buy assets with that, and then the assets of that profit, the profit of that assets, they pay back the banks. But all the times, and you may pay taxes on what you earned incurred on the taxes, but not necessarily off of loans all the time. Some people get away with that, and just due to the various tax laws here in the U.S. and also around the world, and situations like that. So now, as we going forward, whether you believed in how we went through the PPP, all the stimulus money, unemployment, whatever the situation may be within your country, many people did not utilize that money properly and say, if nothing else, pay your bills and get your credit score up. But many,
True,
and
because but
mhm,
there's a reason for that, Mr. LP. But before I respond, Linda
sure,
was trying to make a point before, and I want
sure,
to
I was going to come
go
to
back to her and give her the floor.
her. Right.
thank you. Actually, I was just going to add to what you had said there, Russell, that you know, on top of us forgetting how we did things, like you mentioned, simple thing is we had no heat, turn on the stove. We've also become a throwaway society because we've spoiled ourselves, right?
Amen.
Um, and like you said, because we have arrived mentality. Um, and when you going back to you, Mr. LP, when you have some certain items and that you borrow, right? You're borrowing $20. You don't pay on I and I'm speaking here directly. Um, Here you don't pay directly on what you borrow, but you pay on what you spend it on, right?
Hmm.
And um, more often, like Ross Silk said, we don't pay off our bills, right? Because it takes anywhere from 6 months to a year before they even acknowledge you, and that's if at all.
Amen. Amen.
And that's what I was gonna. I'm sorry, Mr.
No, go ahead.
LP.
No, go
Just
ahead. Go ahead.
going back to your point, because your point is well valid. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, and it makes sense. But giving the people who don't own nothing, you told me I can't use language, don't have ish, won't get ish, ain't ishly supported, teaching them capitalism in a world that just keeps changing the finish line time and time again. I mean, you can't help but get frustrated with that. So it's like, of course, people right now, we expect people to understand the concept of stimulus money. Okay. For those of us that know, we understand exactly what a stimulus check was meant to do. But if you've been living off of a 30% income all of your life, and all of a sudden you hit the lottery where the United States government appears to send you a free check for an extra $300 per child or extra $1,000 per child. Don't talk to me about stimulus. I can finally get some of the things that I've been wanting. So then we don't understand when we take these things out of school and we don't teach our children the reality of these things and have true transparent conversations, then we can't understand why the hell the store is out of crab legs and shrimp during a pandemic,
Or
because
even
these are things, exactly, these are things that the average person cannot afford on a regular, so they
mhm,
utilize now this stimulus money to do that. Amazon made more money during this pandemic
Oh yeah, they
than it
triple.
facts.
did ever, because and then they even was so, just think about this, Amazon was so confident in their business that they launched another division of their business with little mailboxes all over in grocery stores and stuff, where if you don't want your package to come to your house, you can have it delivered up to Publix and you could go in there. And that partnership now, when I go to pick up my package from Amazon and Publix, I'm also going to spend money where I picked up my package. And so these are the things that we have to start teaching our people about, how to follow the money and see where the money is going and who the movers and shakers are, and how that they're all in partnership with each other. Very few people even notice that Facebook has changed its name and changed its platform. Okay, because that's not something of interest to them. They log on to Facebook, and as long as they can see what's happening, make comments, hit likes or whatever. So that little meta that's down there on the bottom of Facebook has gone over a lot of people's head, because we don't pay attention to those things.
Right. Let me add some context to what you were saying. The yellow boxes were out to like gas stations and other places, like you said before, the stores out. It's just that they even built more on top of that during the pandemic. And during the first 3 months of the year, they had $108.5 billion, up 44% from the previous year. Over the whole time, they made 220%. Basically, they earned in the year of the pandemic from last year. We not even got into this year, but with the pandemic, they've earned as much as they did in 3 years. Where their stock options are now, like the last I checked was like 1,700.
Absolutely.
Well, they even opened kiosks out here, actual little store
Exactly.
locations out here.
It's
It's
right now
completely
35.
separate from a corner store or what have you.
Right now they're
Right.
at 3,500, something like that there. But then like 5 years, just not too long ago, they were, well under 20, a little bit of 1 point. I'm sorry, 1,800. Now they're 3,580. I'm saying so their money has jumped
Yeah, but the
tremendously.
fact of the matter is that the majority of that money is black money, black
Mhm.
dollars.
Yes.
Black people spend more money and do more shopping than pretty much every other nationality. Okay. And so again, when you talk, going back to your point about price gouging and increase, people treat you the way you allow them to treat you. Okay, if you walk away from things and you say no, I'm not going to pay you $3 for a loaf of bread, and you do without bread, or you go get the supplies with that $3 and learn how to make bread. Okay, the reason why our parents and our grandparents was able to get things done during bus strikes and milk shortages and gas shortages and stuff is because they said, hell no, we're not going to tolerate this, and we'll do without. So I remember the gas shortage when it was odd and even, and my grandfather used to carpool neighbors and
Yes.
everything, and they would pull together. We live in a not my baby, not my problem society. Everything is about me, 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 me. And so we've got away again from this village mentality of looking out for each other to make sure that each other was okay. If you think about the template, even right down to the Montgomery bus strike, when they planned that Montgomery bus strike, they also planned down to a science that, okay, some of you are going to have to walk. Some of you are going to have to carpool. Some of you better go buy a bicycle, roller skates, or whatever. But we're saying that we're not getting on this bus, period. And because they stood by those convictions, changes come. Okay. Over the summertime, when we had all of the hoopla about them pigeon pooper statues and everybody was in an uproar and they wanted those statues removed, the statues got removed because of the young ones that was in the street going, we're tired of this, these statues need to come down. The problem now is that the elders need to pass the torch and allow the younger ones, but don't take your hands off of them. Still share the stories, still share the template. But now, if you're tired, sit down, move out of the way, and let the other ones pick up the torch and carry this thing the next.
Exactly. We had to
Stand
fight.
on the sidelines and guide.
That's
Exactly.
right.
Yeah. We had to fight, but at the same time, we need the ability. many people know how to go out here and take that thing with a fight, but it's also a measure of the man or woman that could be able to sign your name with the edge of your sword. You need to have the level of grace that goes on with it. Going forward on, we recently have, well, get through the House, but we got to deal with the Senate aspect of the Build Back a Better America bill. I know I said it wrong. I butchered it, so please forgive me. But we have this bill where overall it has a lot of components that will help fix America, and also not just America, but it does have components that affect both Mexico, Canada, London, and many of our trade partners around the world. Throughout, well, some of the controversy with this bill is coming up from all sides. One of the major sides is that obviously many Republicans we just don't want it, regardless of whatever it helps their constituents or not. They just don't want it, and I find it very interesting where. One of the major pieces of legislation, the first in history, is that 3-4 years old will have fully paid for preschool. Also, I think they need to add some after school programs with this, but still, all of this, all what we wanted was in it, but they kept stripping it until we got it down to like maybe a third of what it was supposed to be in there. The issue that I have with it is that, yes, regardless of the amount, it's going to be a lot of money, yes, but it was never an issue it's always an issue when it comes time to helping people. Where's the money coming from? But they find all the money in the world when it comes to defense and military and war and anything else, pet project. We literally spent almost $2 trillion on one plane for an experiment. And I tell people all the time, we are not that hurting bad in the military. I don't care what anybody say. Is like when we fly a plane ready to bomb somebody, then they're not like, oh, that's just a U.S. plane. They were like, oh, blink. There's a U.S. run, no matter what it is. So we don't need to spend almost $2 trillion on one plane that literally crashed not too long after takeoff. And all that's going to waste. Whereas that could go to a lot of different programs. So this Build Back Better America plan has a lot of different components that can easily go to helping people go forward. I don't think that a very good job, and I blame America as a general. I don't blame this on the government because many people say that people don't understand. We got to break it down. Why? We have to get out of this. There's the other side of it is that we got to get out of this aspect of that. We got to lower ourselves. I always keep so because in order for people to understand, we keep falling into the tropes that they used to play for people of color, especially Black people, that put it in the book because we won't read. But it's coming in an issue for everybody, regardless of color, that, here's all these different components so they can understand. And sadly, because you got a certain segment of people that's just going to go against anything that a Republican may say or a Democrat may say or whatever group, we're throwing out the word socialist and don't really understand what it means. When I laugh, I say they complain about it, but then many of them collect their Social Security checks. But, they're going to span Medicaid, where it's going to cover dental and vision and a whole bunch of other different things. So we need a whole bunch of different things with this plan, and it needs to move forward. But you have many people, even those in states where they're extremely hurt, and the states that the top 10 poor states are heavily Republican states. And they're the ones that say, we don't want to get this, we don't want to get that. But they're the ones that also the main ones that are pulling from these systems that need these resources. Many other schools, and let's keep it real, even though we've kind of gotten away from it, many of our 3 and 4-year-olds that are parents that are working are sitting with other family members and friends. It's a lot of other people, white people, that also need these resources as well in order for them to work. But you rather sit and go against it because it's going to help other people besides yourself. It's a problem. I know there are 4 different dynamic issues in there, but I wanted to give that information up front. Let's start with you, Ms. Linda. Your thoughts on this?
Where to begin? um,
Take it to the bridge.
The reality is, you know, there are certain politicians that came into play that unfortunately was able to bring to the forefront everybody else's true view on certain issues, and it's showing now more than before. And this I don't care about you, I care about me attitude is exactly what's taking over. And that's the bottom line as to why, you know, you're only getting one third of this entire, you know, bill. It's ridiculous. You're starving people, and you're starving people in order for you to get ahead. That's what it breaks down to.
Okay.
How much time? Look, how much time do we have?
We got
Okay.
you, sir.
It's
Come
not
on
enough.
in.
Yeah, like, look, I've been busting at the bit. I have a good friend, Charles Willis, that uses the terminology, I don't have time for politics. And this is exactly what this is, politics.
Exactly.
Okay. The bottom line is they can put whatever warm, fuzzy bow that they want on this thing. At the end of the day, the United States government ain't trying to do nothing from nobody. The foundation of this country was built on plantation mentality and slavery. Therefore, anything that they can do to keep you enslaved to them, they will utilize it, whether it be health care, child care, Medicare,
Here I was
whatever it
told.
is. Okay. And so what they do is get in their little back rooms, both Democrats and Republicans, because they're all one and the same. Okay. And they listen, they make these side room deals or
They
whatever.
rub each
They
other's
all
elbows.
already know what's going to be moved to the side because they negotiate things or whatever and stuff. And if you want to be truthful about it, if we start paying attention and stop voting party and start talking to people and voting for people who are talking our agenda and setting our own agenda, I don't understand why Black people keep letting white people come into their neighborhood and be Captain Save-A-Hole and act like we're going to tell you what your agenda is and we're going to for you. That's just the bottom line. Until we start running things, owning things, and putting people in there, not because they come into your neighborhood with hot dogs and moon bounces and kiss your babies when they're looking for an election time, but truly, truly have a proven track record of doing. We don't have any more John Kennedys. We don't have any more Martin Luther Kings or whatever and stuff. They've been alluded.
We don't need it. We know what to do. We don't need them.
That's what I'm saying. The template,
Well,
Mr.
you know what?
LP, is there.
Hold on.
But again, we
I
get
have to
so
disagree.
excited.
I have to disagree with you, Raw Silk. We do have them, but the problem is that we have so many of them.
Okay.
And, you know, when you have so many that want to lead and none that know how to follow, or none that know how to work together.
And that's why I said we don't. And that's what I mean, Linda, by we don't have any of them, because true people knew you can spot a leader. They don't have to yell, I'm a leader and this is what I do. It's in their action, and then people will generally follow them because of the action. The problem is, and especially with social media, we wind up having people that want to have more look at me moments and look at what I do. Okay, I do things every day and help people every day, and I don't go to social media to post it. It's kind of like, let's just use this analogy. One of the biggest pet peeves that I have that gets up underneath my skin is people that post pictures of them feeding the homeless. If you're feeding the homeless and this is truly your calling and what you do, feed the homeless. But to take a picture of it, if you were homeless, would you want a camera in your face and a piece of chicken to show that somebody fed you? It's your track record, what your track record is. The proof is in the pudding. The problem is this stuff is that we keep marching and no justice, no peace, and we shall overcome. Aren't we tired yet? When do we become a self-sufficient people and realize the most stupidest thing I ever see in the world is going to people who oppress you, asking them to help you and to do things for you? Everything in this country is plantation mentality, from public housing to the welfare system to HUD, anything that they can keep us codependent on and be in control, where they can take it away at the drop of a dime. Because even with this stimulus, everything has a provision. With rent relief, there's provisions for it. Everything that's supposed to be out there to help the people has conditions.
What we need to do is fully rebuild Black Wall Street to its fullest, not halfway.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely,
like you've been saying, and like I said, I was tiptoeing because, I was trying to be nice.
Hey, but, do not do that. We don't do that here.
This whole thing of, I'm trying to remember, Mr. LP, you'll probably remember who it was. I want to say it was Little Kim, Money, Power, Respect, that song. What you need in life, that's their motto. That's their mantra. You know what I mean? They will step on us to get ahead. That is their job. That is what their job has been from day one. They literally stepped on us, and now they are figuratively stepping on us to get ahead, right? They see that $10 bill, they're going to jump for it. They're going to reach that tree and they're going to grab it. And if they got to throw us up there to get it, and we happen to hang on the way down, oh well.
Well,
right?
Amen on that. Well, I want to add somebody up on here. Let me introduce everybody. This is the one and only Mr. Cut, Mr. Brian, the legendary, the man, the myth, the legend, and everything else. You want something done, you get this man and give him a call. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, my brother. And how are you doing, my queens? I hope you are doing well. Hope you're safe.
We are well.
And for those who are celebrating the holidays, the upcoming holidays, I hope you have a wonderful holiday. But let me just say this. The first step in what we're talking about doing is, number one, is self-love.
Thank you.
You can talk all the recommendation you want about what we need to do. But if we don't have self-love, we will not be able to accomplish our goal. Right. Number two, we need to get off. See, everything we're talking about is true, but look at where we're talking about these things. We're talking about Black progress. We're talking about Black evolvement on white-controlled social media platforms.
Mm-hmm. So keep all that fan that fire.
How do we talk among ourselves about what we need to do if we're doing it among the enemy?
Because we don't trust our own. Because there's Black Twitter, there's Black Facebook, there's other avenues for us to go to.
No. There is no Black Twitter, because Black Twitter, we don't own Black Twitter. Twitter owns Black Twitter. That's my point. We created Black Twitter within Twitter. So every time we go on these social media platforms and we express our grievances, what we need to do, we're doing it among platforms that are white owned and white controlled.
I think your point is very valid.
How do we do this? And we have Isaac Hayes III. Isaac Hayes III is I believe the grandson of the legendary Isaac Hayes. He created fan base. Mm-hmm. My question to you is this: among all of us right now, who's on fan base? Now I know I'm on fan base. My question to you is this: are you on fan base? Fan base is a Black-owned, controlled platform. Are you on fan base? See, we could talk about this all day long. And my brother LP, my dear brother, we talked about this time and time again. We could talk about this bullshit all day long on these white controlled platforms. but we won't be able to accomplish anything because we're talking among the enemy.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Bryant, and I want to take a step. You correct. I initially also started off, and then this involves a lot of it is based off of some of the things that was going on within your state. We talked about the coming up plan, and both Raw Silk and also Miss Linda had outlined the pros and cons with it and really the true game behind the door in it. I wanted your thoughts within that, and also a lot of it was a lot of people within your state, home state, are against it, even though many of the provisions is going to help the people, and not even so much of BIPOCs, but more so of them, and they still don't want to do it just because of the fact that it will benefit us as well.
We
If
have
they
to
did
understand Florida is a red state.
exactly,
And I've been in Florida now for over 21 years. And when our people come to Florida, when they come to Florida, they come to fish, they come to relax, and what they focus on when they try to do things when they come to the community, they're is somewhat outdated. So you have to understand that the conditioning of the conditioning of Black people in Florida is not as progressive as the conditioning of our people in Richmond or in DC or in LA or in Chicago. Florida is a retirement state. Let me put it this way: when a Black man gets to a certain age, during his 20s and 30s and even his upper 40s, most Black men are very aggressive. They're very passionate about what they believe when it comes to the Black community. But once they get past the upper 40s and they get to the 50s, they're more concentrated on their families, their retirement, what they can leave behind when they die for their families. That is Florida. That's Florida.
okay.
That I know this. I know this from my other business when it comes to Black people. They not saying they don't love Black people, not saying they don't understand the wrongs and the issues and the policies that's going on from counties to state to national issues, but they're more comfortable and they feel like they've done their part and they're tired and they don't want to do anymore. They just don't.
But when you call to arms, there's always going to be a call. In this situation, let me ask, and all of you are this, all of you are parents, all of you have children that are grown. One recently graduated. Congratulations to you, Mr. Bryant. And the aspect I say is this: does your job ever stop
I
as a
mean,
parent? So my thing is that the job as a parent never stops. But when you call it this, the issues that we have is going to supersede everything, even our own children. So we can't stop. We can't give up the
Oh,
goat.
hold on there, though, Mr. LP. While our job never stops, it's much like what we were talking about before. There comes a point where you have to take the sideline and guide.
mm,
And there comes a point where you have to say, okay, I'm passing the torch, right? Like Ross Silk said, I'm passing the torch. Go ahead. This is what we watched our parents do. This is what we did, and this is now what you need to do. And if you have questions, we'll guide you. If we see you going left, we're going to put you back right. There comes a point where we have to let them leave the nest
Okay.
and spread their wings. And we can't carry this torch forever. Right?
No, that
We
part,
can
no.
come we can come to arms and do like, you know, our forefathers and sisters did back in the day, and gather and say, this is what we're seeing. This is what needs to happen. Who will stand up? right?
No, of course. I'm just saying that we still can't give up everything. I guess. Silk, I know you
Well,
wanted to get something in there.
it's
Or
not about
sorry,
it's not about giving up. It's about mellowing out. It's not about giving up because the a lot of brothers and sisters in Palm Coast, Florida, they're not giving up. They're just mellowing out. For example, we do every year in Palm Coast during the month of February, we do a African American Black History thing. And what we do is we celebrate many of our uh, male and female Black ancestors that have done extraordinary things, contributions when it comes to our people. But there are certain people they will not um, mention. They won't mention Malcolm X. They won't mention the Black Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
They won't mention Marcus Garvey. Okay. They won't mention anything that is outside of the white mainstream. So, yeah, they're doing the part saying, be black, black is beautiful, and be proud. But when it comes to those who have been more relevant, when it comes to our struggle, they won't mention it. Does that mean that they don't care? No, it means that they're mellowing out because
I
they've
don't
already
even know. I don't
they've,
even know if I would
they've
use the
already
term
they've
mellowing
already
out. I just think
retired.
it's complacent.
They've already retired. They've already made their money. They're fishing, they're dancing, they're loving, and they're trying to do their part. So they're going according to how they were able to succeed. And many of our Black people in Flagler County and Palm Coast, the way they've been able to succeed was by their silence.
Right, and that was the thing. Um, I'm glad you said that, Ron, because that's exactly where I was going. And I wouldn't even use the term a mellowing out. I believe it's just what you said, their silence and keeping white people comfortable so they can keep what they've acquired. Okay, because a lot of people feel that just because they acquired stuff doesn't mean that it cannot be taken care of, taken away from you. Because white people are very strategic.
Well said.
Okay, how
Well
they
said.
can take things away from you, so they buy your silence or whatever, and it becomes a complacency. And I agree with you to that point. My point is that you don't get retirement from being Black. You don't get retirement from being a Black man or a Black woman in this country. So when the call of arms is out, I don't care if you say my 80-year-old mother still goes to protesters with me. Okay,
I agree, but it becomes a choice. I know people that
right, and I agree with you. I definitely agree.
I know people where it becomes a choice. Once they retire, they're retired. They're done.
And I agree with you, but this is the problem that I have with situations like that, right? Time and time again, and we all know some that make that choice until their behind gets in hot water, and then they'll be first one to get on the Black phone and call in. I need my brothers and my sisters.
I agree with you, my sister, but understand, the people that I'm talking about are people who have been my customers in my other line of business. These people are millionaires.
Okay.
These people every year they decide if they want to go with the latest E-Series Mercedes or go with some series BMW. They got money. So when I say they're done, they're done. So they're taking their little bit of energy and their so-called giving back on these on particular programs. So what I'm saying is nothing's going to happen to them because
I don't
overall
believe that.
silent. They are silent.
I don't believe that because if they don't, Huh? Yeah, that's what I was saying, Mr. LP. Aren't they in a bubble? Because again, it goes back to Ron's initial point. They may be millionaires, they may be billionaires, but if you don't own your own banks, if this is not your money that you're playing with, you're not creating your own car line. You're making Rolls Royce and all
Okay,
of these other white entities
okay.
busy.
I
You're no
would tell
better.
you right now. I would tell you right now, Raw Silk. One particular gentleman. He is my friend. Matter of fact, I based one of my characters on my comic series. He owned his own businesses. He owned his own properties. This guy owned his own properties. He just feels like he's done his part. He's done.
Well,
So
what has he done though?
now he just wants to enjoy the fruits of his labor. Now, this guy, the guy I'm talking about, you ready for this? Take a deep breath. He's 95 years old. He's 95. I helped celebrate his birthday. This brother, he's seen everything. And he decided that now he has to enjoy the fruits of his labor. And that is the consensus in where I live in Florida, which is the northern part of Florida. We're talking from St. Johns County down to Flagler County, which is the most red area in Florida, the most racist area in Florida. So I'm not saying he don't do his part. Him and his wife partake in the February ceremonies, but other than that, he's done.
Okay.
He's
Now
done.
let me move on to the next subject. First off, I thank you all for joining in this broadcast and things. I appreciate you and everybody that's been watching. Hello, Mr. Randolph Scott. Thank you so very kindly. Thank you also, Mr. Jeff, Mr. Canto, Mr. Quite a few. Miss Hazel White is watching with us. So we had a lot of people that's been joining with us. Jeff, sincere. So I appreciate everybody. Mr. Reba Churches, thank you very much. I appreciate all of you. One of the things I wanted to go into and also to get everybody's thoughts. I know some people feel like they're tired of hearing it ad nauseum, but I wanted to clear up a few things that maybe people may not be aware of regarding the whole situation of the Kyle Rittenhouse situation. It's an unfortunate situation, and we have gotten into a point where society, and especially some white people, feel that it's okay to murder people not indiscriminately, discriminately. And we have a situation where now we had to clear up a couple of things. The mother did not transport the young man, but there's a lot of issues and things that was thrown out that did not get that he would have definitely got charged with. One of them, some facts remain that he did drive himself illegally without a license overseas. I mean, over the state lines. He did give money to an 18-year-old, which had purchased a gun, which was illegal, and there are charges against that gentleman, Mr. Black, on those charges. And he fired, and the reason why he was even further chased is because he was people thought he was an active shooter. I find the fact that we gotta stop doing this, and we just, in the first time in a while, I won't say the first time, but a good while, there's been more people looking into the aspect of the background of the person instead of to justify the person. We just, destroy the person's background of everything else. The guy who had mental problems, the guy that had other issues going on. All these things does not justify the killing of another person. Whether and he got off on the technicality of it's a short barrel versus a long barrel, all these different things. Either way, the boy should not be there. I find it troubling that we still live in a society where once a kid get 14, 15, 16 and tell you out my house and you're grown, obviously 18, graduated or have your high school, you know where your child is. So the mother, I get it, working hard, two jobs, double shifts, whatever. She's like, hadn't heard from my son in a couple of days, and I didn't know where he was at that time, and don't know why he was there. And my thing is that work or not, and someone mentioned to me that this is the difference in between the white homes and black homes. And, and then we've seen it in everywhere that some people just don't seem to care where their kids are or what they're doing. And then when you don't keep your eyes on your child, things can potentially happen, such as this. It is a racial issue. I don't care what anybody say because the situation is that many of the people, which these are proven facts, that many of the people the Proud Boys helped raise the money for the bail. He sit up there holding signs and pictures saying "free as F" on his shirt, and then now even since he's been out, he's been on the news popping off at the mouth, speaking whatever to Biden and anybody else. Just no respect at all. And this is what happens when you let people get away with certain things. At the same time, we have a young man about to go to jail for life where he was being chased because he has a white girlfriend and she's in the back seat, and he fires shots to save him and his girlfriend's life. And then now he doesn't get to use self-defense. The truth of the matter is the jury did work. The law does work for them. We Now, we have to also be careful of the mindset of when we have the statement is, are we surprised? No, we're not surprised in things, but we also can't use that as a mean of being complacent and not doing anything. And I'm not saying that's what we're doing, but we have to be careful in how we phrase ourselves going forward. But I wanted to gain everybody's thoughts on that.
I'm dying to hear from. I'm dying to first before I even begin to speak on this.
I'm sorry, say that
I'm,
again, Miss
I'm,
Silk. I didn't hear. I'm sorry. Say that
I
again.
said I'm dying to hear from Ron and Linda before I
Yeah.
even speak on this.
Yeah, I was
I
going to go to
definitely
Linda
want to
first.
hear this.
Mr. Cut, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in before you.
Okay,
Yeah,
Because I have two issues.
Linda, why don't you know what, Linda? Why
Hmm.
don't you go ahead and jump in first, and then I'll jump in after you.
All right.
That's where I was heading.
So I have two issues with that. You mentioned that, Mr. LP, that mental health has nothing to do with it. There's the reason
Correct.
that is there is mental health is, or maybe I misunderstood what you said, but mental health is a major factor, and more so why the mother should have known where her child was if he has mental health. Okay, I am a huge advocate for mental health. I truly believe everybody in the world has and suffers from mental health in some way, shape, fashion, or form, in some way. Okay. But clearly, if they had to dig into his background and see that he had mental health, his mental health is a severe situation where she should be aware of where her child is. He's still living in your house. That's number one. Two, color does play a huge role in the way that we raise our children. Regardless of how we want to say, no, it doesn't, and yes, it does. Comedians talk about it and make millions off of it all the time, every day, where they say, I watched this kid come, Mom, F you, I hate you. You think I could tell my mother that? Oh, no. What? You would have seen my eyeballs go bing, bang, just from her smacking the back of my head. You understand? Talking about, who are you talking to? You lost your mind? I pay those bills. I put clothes on your back. I put food on your plate. I take care of you. That's the key. Taking care of your child. She did not take care of her child. If anybody should have been charged, it should have been her because she was negligent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Raising your child to respect human life, right? He clearly went with a purpose. You don't go pick up a gun just for the sake of going to pick up a gun. It just doesn't happen.
They just wanted to be in the mix and be involved, and they went with intention that you're going to go into trouble. I have a problem when you visibly put yourself into a situation and didn't want to scream self-defense. That just does not rock with me. You can say whatever you want with the law. There's a law, there's doing the right thing, and then there's doing the right thing.
That's crying damsel in distress.
Exactly, but
There's
you're
no
the
such
one.
thing.
You can't throw fire or gas on your house and say somebody, it's the Susan Smith syndrome. Hey, my child's drowning, but it was the black guy, but it was actually you. But you want the world to start coming on black people. The situations like this, we can't even. I could. One of the things I wanted the people to understand, they keep saying it was an open carry state. Here's the rule. Yes, it's an open carry state. You may not have to have a license, but you have to be 18. At the end of the day, he was still wrong because he was not 18. And going forward, so that's where it just should have been thrown out. Should have just been thrown in jail for the jump. But the law worked for the right person, which was them. I make a joke that there's a sad joke that, there's things you can't do, 10 things that would make white men angry, employee of the month that took their parking spot was a black person, or the daughters dating the quarterback. But just things like that is just wrong. And people have trouble accepting. And because we did not put a stop in terms of, I'm often told, don't tell me what to do, stop saying, Stephen, stop mentioning, but we got away from the, hey, young man, hey, young man, don't do this. Be careful what you say, whatever. And then that passes on. So now you grow up the next couple of generations like, I don't know. And it's a problem.
But that goes right there into my point. Black parents taught their children, you can't go into this neighborhood and just say what you want to say and do what you want to do. You can't do that. When you see a police officer roll up, be prepared because he may stop you, and be prepared because you may get shot. Be prepared because you may go to jail. We have to have those conversations with our children as Black parents. But then Caucasian parents don't have to have that. They get to have Karens and BFs and all these wonderful... allow their privilege to show. Period.
Exactly. Don't want to say hi.
And some of them don't even recognize it.
Amen. Hi, author Ms. Griffin. How you doing today? Thank you very much. He said that so they are declaring he had mental health issues, and that's why he didn't go to prison. In some cases, I believe that's where it's going through.
I don't think that it had absolutely nothing to do with his mental health issues.
Nothing.
I agree.
Kyle Rittenhouse was a white supremacist.
100%.
Thank you.
Kyle Rittenhouse was a white supremacist that went AWOL.
That's right.
Kyle Rittenhouse was a stupid, ignorant, dumbass white supremacist that decided to do something that was not in line with the white supremacist agenda.
Exactly. I totally thank you. I totally agree. And what he did is he utilized his white privilege to do what he did. And if you look how the judge coddled him, his ass was probably in the fraternity or whatever. And that's why he got to pick out his own jury. And I ain't never seen in COVID, we talking about 6 feet, but the judge literally had this kid in his lap doing this whole trial. I totally agree with Ron. This was about privilege. And
Kyle Rittenhouse is now the poster child of white supremacy.
That's right.
And they hate it. They can't stand it.
And they can't stand it. It's making them mad. I totally agree with him. The other thing that the other problem that I have is, and I said it, I posted it, white America finally got a taste of what it feels like to even have video and still not get justice. Okay, now they know exactly what it is to get a play-by-play video and to actually see it played over and over again, to blatantly see the people that this idiot assassinated and still get no justice. And so for that, I'm sorry. I feel like I cannot be outraged. Okay, I'm amazed at the Black people that's outraged that didn't know that he was going to get off. When you first seen the judge's behavior at the beginning of this trial, giving this kid a bucket to pick out what juries he wanted, and then he called them up to his side to watch the video and the play-by-play. The only thing with that judge is he forgot to put on the wrong robe one morning. That's it. Okay,
done.
because I guarantee you up
I was
underneath
getting
that
ready to
robe was
say
his
that.
white one. Okay, I guarantee you his white robe was up underneath that one or whatever and stuff.
Oh,
He literally, and Ron is right, and so now they are like, so man, it's kind of like Donald Trump 45 syndrome. They put that idiot in office, and then he just got so reckless that even they was just like, you know what? I throw my hands up. I can't deal with it. And because he is now the poster child of this, he feels this brazenness, this brashness. I don't want to put any calling on his life, but there is a bitch named Karma, and she stands around every single corner. And it's not even gonna, it's gonna be one of his own. It's gonna be one of his own that does something to that kid because his privilege is so extreme now. He reminds me of George Zimmerman now. When George Zimmerman got away with assassinating Trayvon Martin, this boldness, this brashness, this brazenness that now he's arrogant. He thinks that he's accomplished something. It's gonna come behind.
Now
they're
keep
going
this
to
in
give him
mind.
the hush.
Keep this in mind. White supremacy want to rid away with him now because he's an idiot. They made a mistake. This was a victory for white supremacy, but it was a disgusting, nasty, evil, and vile
When
victory for white supremacy.
this is
So what they're trying to do is this, brother LP. They want to be away with him because this is what they've done. This is what they've done. Not only did he open the doors for other young white males to run amok with AR-15s, they opened the doors for young black males and females to run amok with AR-15s. And that is not what they wanted. This
exactly.
was not what they wanted.
See, the
But
thing is, when you
because of Rittenhouse, because he's an idiot, they chose a total jester to represent white supremacy. This is what they got to deal with now.
when you it's to a point when the devil's saying, "Dang, I couldn't do it this good." I mean, and and where you don't see Trump when you see Trump mad because the attention's away from him. It goes
Mhm.
it goes against it. So he's not like you said when you force when you can get away with stuff, but now when you do it so badly, like, okay, oh shoot, we're now going to start, like you said, getting the guns. We're going to start reading. We're going to start getting involved. They're like, doggone it, you're blowing it for us, dude. You're making too much noise and too much problems. This is not how we were supposed to go. It was a slow crawl. And now it's opening up the doors. And I'm just seeing the news now. You guys seeing these stores getting smashed and grabbed by a whole bunch of young people. You justifying the Charlottesville thing that happened, which they just got, the people got awarded $26 million in damages, which is still never going to be enough to recover the life of Heather Heyer and anybody else that got damaged.
But Mr. LP, just think about this. There are a bunch of parents, black parents, that sit in jail because of idiotic mistakes that their children have made or done. But his mother is exempt.
There's
Thank
a
you.
lot of parents that are like,
So race plays all up in this thing.
I get so upset when I think about the situation where how many times we see in the news a parent is arrested, black, white, whatever, a woman, because she's working at a hotel or somewhere third shift, can't get a babysitter. And she the kids in the storage closet or at home or in the car sleeping, and she coming back and forth checking every hour. Where how many times we're gonna see that people people have died for less. People have started wars for centuries for less. I mean, we can't make this
I
up.
just wonder that it's unfortunate for those that were injured and that lost their life. But if their tan line was a little darker, this wouldn't even have been an issue.
Oh, but sadly,
Yeah.
It sadly it wouldn't even been an issue. And I totally agree with Ron that years from now you're going to open up the dictionary and look up idiot, and this kid's picture is going to be sitting right up underneath that picture. And this is not going to be the last time that we hear from this child.
no,
Because now he has a badge of honor. He's cocky. He's arrogant. He reminds me of the same as that other idiot that went and shot up the church.
a
They
Dylan
come from
Bruce.
that same. They come from that same vein. That same
Yep.
white supremacy poured into them, but they didn't hone them in enough time to do their bidding, and they just went reckless, just like Ron said. So I guarantee you, we're going to hear from this child again.
Yeah, the way he's talking cocky and arrogant when they said of Tucker Carlson into the president, it was just crazy. Moving on real quickly, Aubrey, the case is still going. Um, I won't even go into the detail of what exactly happened. If you're not familiar with what's going on right now, then I challenge you to be informed and to see what's going on. What they're saying. I'm a highly person that believes listen to the other side for your own information, so you can see what's saying, so you can have a
Mhm.
plausible idea of what's going on and to develop your pros, your premise towards it. And the situation, the part of it that's bothering me is where they, mentioned about this, the same descriptions you see in magazines and I'm sorry, in books and newspapers of how they used to describe slaves. How, and understand that, she's trying to do all she can to get the person off. But if you got to win that way, then you don't deserve the win. And I'm upset when people say, "Oh, I disagree with what she said, but I defend her right to use it as a lawyer." No, there's no defense for that. If there was any other court case up north above the Mason Dixon line, yeah, that person would have been in jail, and it would have been a mistrial, and then they would have got off with again. It's just wrong to have such a situation like that. Talking about our town and our community, you don't even really have a jury of your peers if it's just one a black person in it, but 11 others are white. It's just sad, the situation. Ms. Linda, your thoughts on it?
Um, I haven't been following it to its entirety,
Okay,
to be honest.
sorry.
After the first one,
Uh,
I
Fair enough. That's a
like
fair enough.
Ross said, he 100% was an absolute idiot, and after seeing that, my blood started to boil. I said I can't watch the news for a little while.
And that's a fair, you know what? And that's a fair, I'm not mad at you. And that's a fair statement because at the end of the day, as we mentioned before, we have to be careful at the same time. I want everybody to be as educated on a topic for as possible, but you do
Mhm.
have to guard against your own mental health again with everything else that we may have going on in
Well,
the
it
world.
becomes almost like you're watching a bad soap opera. It's
Exactly.
almost like watching a
Exactly.
bad soap opera, and you already know, like, the scenes are so obvious. It's just like right now, the jury is out for deliberation, okay? And they deliberated today for 6 hours, and now that they've broken. So here we go, white America, once again. You saw the video, it was clear as day. This young man was running and he was assassinated. It was in black and white, plain and simple. There's no
Right.
other way to look at it. We don't know what was said. We don't care. We just know that he didn't have a gun. We just know that these people jumped out of a truck. And the next thing we watched in live living color, them shoot
Alleged,
this man in the chest.
it
Okay.
was
There is
alleged.
no alleged about it. We seen it. And so once again, when white America comes back and they are found not guilty, we will not be surprised because this has become the expectation. And so, going back to Ron's point, until we start sitting in the courtroom and being the judges or whatever, I get so pissed off because with our children, we think that their escape out of the neighborhood is to put a damn football or a basketball in their hand, or the girls become dancers, instead of teaching them that, you might want to go into law, you may want to look into to judge. You may want to look into other things besides sports. And even if they do sports, have a plan B, a backup plan. So when you blow your knee out, when you can no longer take any of those hits, you got something that not only can you fall back on, but you can also contribute to lift up your village. We don't do that.
This is what I've mentioned. I've said it 1,000 times, and I'm going to say it again. You see what happened, and I used the Jewish and German communities, others as an example. How many times, many years when, unfortunately they were treated bad as well. And what they said, okay, we're going to take the hit, but you're going to do, and this was just literally the laws in their families. You're going to be a doctor, lawyer, accountant, or military, and a woman, you're going to be a teacher, a nurse, and then you're going to do those jobs. No, I don't care whatever else you're going to do. You're going to do it afterwards. We're going to get one of those positions. And then the thing is, you hire community first. After that, then you can go hire other people. But then once you do that, then you go in, you get into politics, you use that power, and you change the laws. And what happened? Those laws were changed for the made for you. So come the 50s and 60s, they got in power. And now that's why you see in politics so many generations of German, Irish, Brit, what have you. Not so much of French and British, because they went ahead and put a priority on education. This is a mindset that we have to do very much within our Asian communities, and also within our Black communities and our indigenous and our Latin communities. We have an emphasis has to be in education. How many people have, in the sound of our voices, have served in jury duty, or we found every other way to get out of serving jury duty? You never know what happens. Somebody's life is on the line. We have to get involved in our juries. We have to know the law. We need to know what's going on. On your phone, you need to have an image of all your different information ID. You need to have the information that know to your head what to do when you get stopped, 18-point test, 19-point whatever. You need to know these things just as much as you know the songs of your Beyonce songs or whatever ever damn thing you want to listen to. Because this was no disrespect, Beyonce and Jay-Z, as much as you want to be a fan of them or any other rapper or Chance or whoever, they're not going to save your life. That law and understanding that education and your faith is going to get you in that life, to save your life. That's what you need to do to help
you can't know about other people if you don't know yourself.
Exactly. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I was asking,
how do we expect to help other people?
You're right. What I was mentioning, sir.
I mean, this is one of the biggest problems with our people. We're so focused on everybody else, and we're trying to mingle with every other groups, LGBTQ, Asians, Latinas, Middle Easterners. How do we do that when we can't even practice self-love among ourselves?
Not only on yourselves, within yourself.
No.
A lot of people don't love themselves. A lot of people hate themselves.
No. It's not about a within ourselves. Because for the past 20-something years, I've practiced love within myself and to my people through my editorial cartoons. And all I've gotten from it is hate, vitriol from my own people.
Right, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean,
that's right, because they've been the people that's been taught to hate themselves.
Even yesterday, when I told one brother, and he was a Muslim, and I told him, we can remedy some of this if you support my work off of these white.
Mr. Cut, your sound went out, sir. Your volume, your microphone changed. Please forgive me. It sounded like it went to a different device. It sounded like a radio.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. You just sound like but go ahead and continue. You sound like the 45 record player, but go ahead.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me now?
You have another device echoing playing. If you mute the device you're not using.
I muted my Mac, and now it's just on my Android.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, sir.
I had a brother tell me yesterday. He said, if you expect Black people to support what you're doing, it's not going to happen. We have an energy, an environment of Black people that is so consumed with self-hatred, jealousy, animosity, resentment. We could talk about this all day long. We could talk about everything that we need to do with government, with social issues, with economics. But if we do not cure, if we don't remedy the self-hatred going on in our communities right now, Brother LP, you have followed my work for years. Raw Silk, I've known you for years now. I've known you for years. Now, Linda C, I haven't known you as long. But if you follow my work has been about Black love, Black economics, supporting Black politics. And when you get an individual or many individuals come to me and they laugh, they jest about what I'm saying, and they tell me, if you're expecting Black people to support you and what you're doing, it's not going to happen. That is the problem.
And honestly, in this race war, and it is a race war, what we're doing right now with Rittenhouse, with Arbery, this is a race war. With everything we're doing with this race war, if that's how you're thinking, we're going to have to eliminate all those people that think that way when it comes to supporting our people. They have to go. They have to be eliminated. I'm not saying literally eliminated, but they have to be set aside.
I think the way that I say it is that everybody cannot be saved, and I think that's the problem that we have. If we look at people who have the same skin tone as us, the way that I gave, and I said this to Mr. LP years ago, there are species of animals that we have never got to see because they ass didn't make the ark. Okay, it's be the same concept. There are some people that don't want to be saved. They can't be saved. So all we can do is pray for them and hope that they are well and keep it moving. It has been embedded, and I was just getting ready to say that, Queen, that Arthur T. Blackwell, Harriet Tubman said the same thing. She could have saved the 100,000 more if they knew that they were free. You still have some people who are mentally on the plantation. They like the plantation, and so you will get that. Why y'all trying to make Master mad? He's good to us. He gives us water or whatever and stuff. They don't want to because the fear of what's on the other side. It's been bedded in them generation after generation. Right here in Virginia, okay, Ron, you think it's bad in Florida? In Virginia, you can always tell old school Virginia because they don't even look a white man in the eye. They talk with their head down all the time. Okay, watch and see. Old school Virginia does that. There's still that mentality that is out there. Okay, and so again, the other problem that I have is even with forums like this, and other forums, we never want to have realistic, transparent conversation. We always want to have conversations to make other people feel warm and fuzzy, to make our so-safe friends of different persuasions feel warm and fuzzy. Well, damn it, if you my friend, you should be saying the same thing that I'm saying, because you see what I'm going through and you see what the struggle is going through. I'd say the same thing when white people come to black churches talking about we're not racist and we want to support you. Don't tell me that shit. Go to your churches and tell your people that this is what needs to be done. I don't need you to come to my neighborhood to remind me. I need you to be having these conversations with your friends.
Right. Don't just show up with have your politicians show up when the time to come kiss the babies and I can't hear you anything else and things like that. Linda C, we talked about this and you had and I can't remember which one, but you have some experience with this, and especially being multinational.
Well, I was going to say, Raw Silk, once again, Queen, you took the words out of my mouth. Generation after generation after generation of slavery, generation after generation of being pushed here, pushed there. Let me tell you, I am mixed, and it's a touchy subject for me.
Heavily.
Very touchy. Because I am BIPOC, period. I am Black. I am Indigenous. I am Asian. I am Caribbean. I am this, that, and the other thing. Latina, you name it. Okay? And I am not enough of any one culture to be accepted as that one culture. Okay? But what I am enough of is someone who has gone through and seen how generation after generation, each culture has been damaged and destroyed and conditioned and taught. Put your head down, like you said, Queen. Put your head down and don't disturb Master. Master say, here you can have this cornbread. Take that cornbread. Here you can have the leftover corn and make cornbread. You just do it, right? At what point do we say, no, we want our own? We're going to grow our own corn. We're going to grow our own cotton. We're going to go and build our own Black Wall Street. We're going to build our own commerce, right? Statistically speaking, our dollar doesn't cycle enough in our own community.
Absolutely.
To last and to sustain us.
Absolutely.
In any other culture, you look at the Asian community, right? Specifically Chinese. It cycles and they keep it. Jewish community, which I am also a member of that community, it cycles and they keep it. But again, I'm not enough of, right? But I see it. And I see how we as Blacks, we as Indigenous have yet to teach each other how to get past that slavery mentality, that country bunking, yes, master slavery mentality. Okay, to your point, Mr. LP, as to what you're talking about. This constant, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, thank you kindly. How you doing today? I'd like to thank you. No, I'm going to assert myself the same way I see the white supremacists asserting themselves, and I'm going to say, yes, I need you to do this. It doesn't
make me angry. Exactly. And it doesn't make me angry and all of the other stereotypes that's it. Okay.
Exactly.
When I was working, one of the things that I was clear to let every job know, I'm here because I choose to be, not because I have to be. Okay. And I remember when I walked away from my job, the question that this woman had the nerve to ask me was, oh my God, well, think about your family. And I bust out laughing. I said, surely you jest if you think that this job was sustaining my family. Okay. Because that's actually plantation mentality.
I was actually hired for a position. They actually chased me down for a position because I was asserting myself in a manner that said, I'm not angry, but I'm not going to pull and tolerate your nonsense. I'm not going to pull with that. I'm not accepting it. You're going to serve me the same way you would serve Jane Blue Eyes
Mhm.
I'm going to get served the same way. And I demand the same respect, right?
I agree with you. I'm going to get a comment in for those who are listening can may not be able to see it. Author Tramika Blackwell Griffin stated that I grew up on a farm in one of the most racist towns in Georgia, Lincoln County. Woo, that's bad. That's rough right there. And my family had crossed burns in our yard where we owned guns. That was the last cross I ever, and I cannot say anymore. Amen.
Amen.
And they, you have to take a stand. My grandmother would, great grandmother told me many times. This whole thing of hiding when her, at least in her reservation, when they came by, they wanted to get them because at that time, they did not count many indigenous as indigenous. They count them black because they didn't even want them to be counted even as that. But when they came up there and was trying to, grab more people, she was like, "No, we're not going to be the generations of the Trails of Trees and from marching all the way around the mid across America and all this other stuff." They didn't play that, so they had their hatchets and knives and everything, and say, come play with us," and things like that. You see
Mhm.
when they heard, they were all out there in full force, and it's like we're not going to do that. That was the last time they
But
that
you
was.
should. Linda just raised a valid point that I want to touch on, Mr. LP, and that's just the word conditioning and how people have been conditioned in this country. Because, like, watch this, right? So every little kid young, you see the cowboy and Indian movies, right, or whatever and stuff. And so you say to yourself now, as an adult who is a critical thinker, who was really the savages? Because you portrayed the Indians as like these crazy savages that just came and raped and pulverized and killed, but you came and did that to a whole country. So exactly who are the savages here?
So I'm going to go ahead and date myself there, Raw Silk, and um, put a little bit of my business out there. I was educating my daughter on cartoons that I used to watch back in the day when I was, a toddler, and a little older. I'm a cartoon fanatic, so I love my cartoons. And I showed my daughter some there. I want to say it was Bugs Bunny,
Mm-hmm.
and there was one with the little engine.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
And and I say engine, not Indian, because
That's what.
it's not representative. It's not a representative of what is reality. And when we watched it, and she said, "Mommy, you watched this? This is what you watched, and you didn't think there was anything wrong with it?" She was up in arms, and I thought, I said to her, I said, "You had to look at it from that time period. That was what was acceptable at that
Mm-hmm.
time."
I give you another one. Hong Kong Fooey. That was another one. Hong Kong Fooey.
Yeah, Hong Kong Fooey. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
And so, here in Canada, a lot of the First Nations and Indigenous communities are working very hard at striving to uncondition their children and their parents and themselves. Um, it's a struggle, to say the least, but it's still being done. And I think that those are the kind of things that we need to start doing as Black community. Start
I
Well, Ron
agree.
said
unconditioning.
it when
I
he was
agree.
talking. When he was talking, when Ron was.
Hold on for a second. Linda C. Let me ask you
Mhm.
this. Have you followed my work?
To be honest, no. I've seen that some of your, like the covers of your comics, but I haven't followed
She's
it.
seen the stuff that I may
Okay.
have posted on my
Okay.
timeline, sir, but
Oh,
she's not familiar.
okay. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Follow my work.
Hmm.
We can talk about this for hours.
Indeed.
I am creating solutions. And this is where I get frustrated because I'm listening to you about how you like certain cartoons and you share these cartoons with your children. And when you look at my work, I am illustrating work that is pro-black women
And that's what we need to promote.
I'm promoting everything that everybody that claims to be pro-Black is saying that we need to do, but you don't promote. My advice to you is this.
Mm-hmm.
Go to my work. I mean, everything you're saying is real. It's just true. But what you are speaking among people that, well, this is what I do. I'm an animator. I'm a cartoonist. I'm an illustrator. This is what I do. This is what I do. Support my work. Support my work. In other words, if you go to my Facebook page and you see a Patreon page and you say, okay, I'm going to support the brother's work, that's great. Then everything you say is legit. But if you can't do that, then everything that you're speaking to me right now is not legit. Because what I've been doing over the years, I've been doing as a black cartoonist. As a black cartoonist, I've been doing what other people will not do. Other black cartoonists choose not to do because it will not pad their wallets, it will not pad their purses. So, if what you're saying you believe and it's true, go to my Facebook page, support me. Because everything you've said is true. Everything you said is true.
What I'm doing, Mr. Brian, is I posted I just displayed one of the images that you shared with me, and also I'm posting the Patreon and the Instagram and stuff like that. So definitely, we are at the hour and a half mark, a little bit over, and I want to be fair. People getting ready to get themselves going for work and money and things like that, and Silk got to go to the bank. Linda's got to catch her flight to out of the country. And Ron, he's already got the money, so he's sitting in his mansion, but he got to go watch his 100-inch screen TV. So while y'all are doing all of that, I want to give everybody their final words and such for all of this. I'm going to start off since this is again her first time on the show. Miss Linda, you have the floor for your final thoughts.
Final thoughts, Mr. Cut. You are 100% correct. You're right. You said a word right there that touches home with everyone, or should touch home with everyone. It's called solution. Something I taught my daughter from she was little was don't harp on the problem, harp on the solution, and that's what we need to be about. So thank you for sharing your artistic views and your work. It is a solution. It is something we need to share with our children and our adults as well.
Amen. Mr. Bryant.
All I can say is that I am honored and I'm humbled to be among amazing people. Linda C., Mr. LP, Raw Silk. Now Raw Silk, we go back, wow. So we go back a while. All I can say is this: the solution to our problems, they start within ourselves. They start with self-love. You can't solve solutions until you love yourself. Enough said.
Amen. So
it's like funny when Ron was talking, I was hearing the Marvin Gaye song "What's Going On" in my head in specific verses, but I totally agree with what just was said by Linda and Ron. But I think that we've got to keep doing this, Mr. LP. We got to keep having conversations. And you know me, my philosophy has always been 1 of 1,000. Whoever's meant to be here will be here. If you call them, they will come. And having truthful and transparent conversations. Kids' gloves is off. Ron said it best. We are at war. Okay. And when you're at war, you don't come to play. Okay. You don't come to play. The enemy is out to seek and destroy. Okay. Bottom line, no one goes into war. Okay, we're going to meet here and we're cards. We are at war. And at this present time, we are on the end. In order for us to thing around, he's right. Self love, self appreciation,
Mhm.
self respect, and each one has to teach one. We've got to reach back. We've got to have these conversations with these youngins. We've got to teach history and not his story, um, and teach our kids, like Linda says, of stereotypes and things that we don't pay attention. I mean, from Disney all the way down to the Bugs Bunnies and everything else, the racial overtones in there, and then saying if you don't stop, we have a Ron Bryan. We have somebody who can do this for us. Did you know about this brother? And share his work, share Linda's work, share your work, because that's the only way we can elevate ourselves as a people.
Indeed.
Amen. Amen.
Amen, amen, and amen.
I want to start off and first and foremost say thank you to you, everybody, the sound of the voice, everybody, guys, Mr. Cartier, Arthur Griffin, everybody, Jeff. There's just been a lot of people that's been sending messages and signing on and things. Thank you so very much for listening, joining us for the show. Uh, Also, I wanted to point out before I get into it, the both Miss Linda and I, and also another gentleman, we have started a little while ago. Well, we formed one of our businesses and to unleash the data, which we were, doing market research, but formatted, excuse me, pivoted to a lot of most of it is with grant research and writing. And we're trying to educate and involve and help other people be aware of what's out there for the resources, from foundations, businesses, for profit, nonprofit, what have you. Go to our website, unleashthedata.com, and for some more information. Ms. Linda is the gatekeeper. Ends in starts with her, ends with her. Uh,
I
I'm
don't know
like,
about
hey, I'm in
that.
charge,
I would
but
like to say it ends with them being granted a grant.
I'll be like, I'm in charge, and she sits there with this beautiful smile of hers right now in the cup and just sips and like waits for me to finish. And her magic words is, "Are you done yet?" So I want to say that, but I thank you all three for supporting. It's been a while since we've done this, and I had a lot of fun, and this is a great, powerful show as always. I've been debating for quite a while if we needed to return to doing this because one, I wanted to let it be a pop-up for the nature of the sake of the pop-up and get and surprise people, but at the same time we needed this. Four wonderful voices, different views, and even if we agree at a different, one thing I want people to see, and even the conversations I've had online, and some of it can be very tense. But one of the things I've always wanted to highlight is whether you agree or disagree, we do not need to be evil, rude, disrespectful, and that we still have a goal. Even in the 50s, 60s, 70s, what have you, during the civil rights or any of the movements of back then, even though we all necessarily didn't have the right view, because let's be real, but if you studied your history, not everybody agreed with King, not everybody agreed with X. They still wanted to be in slave form. They still didn't feel we needed to vote and be involved in their world, all these different things. But enough of us and many of us came together because we had one goal, is for our freedom and our self-preservation. Mr. Brian mentions that. Sorry to steal your words there, sir. But we have to have a goal, and we're circle because we let our foot off the pedal. We're back again to the same mistakes that we made before. Not supporting each other. I've
Mhm.
always said it was not so much it was not the integration. It was the assimilation. Trying to be a part of something at the beginning of your roots and where you're coming from. We have to always going to have to at the end of the day. We're on this planet for right now and we have to work together. But that does not mean you have to lose yourself. That does not mean we have to disrespect other cultures. That I mean that we cannot sit there and ask for others for something that A, they're not going to give it to us. B, we don't even understand what we're asking for. C, don't have a plan, and D, not willing to work with each other. And A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever the next one. We don't sit here and willing to set up for the future. We need to ensure that we have these things together before we start taking our next steps. Have our plans in place. Know what we're saying yes and no to. Sometimes what we're saying no to, we're upset, but don't worry about it because it's going to come back around again. You're not missing out on anything. And I'm going to say this again. You're not missing out on anything if you're working hard and preparing to yourself for the future. That said, don't overwork yourself. Guide yourself for mental health and do the things that we need to do. I and many others have suffered through a lot the last couple of years through the issues of mental health and other things. But I will stand here before you all and everybody else and through my truth and the real truth of a fact that you will pull through if you seek guidance, wisdom, self love, and learn that to survive is not always about hate. It's understanding where the person comes from how, and going forward. Work with the people that's going to be for you. A lot of people that's saying they're for you are not there for you. Some just enough to they're around because they want to see you fall so they can point and laugh. You need to cut those things. You can't worry about the things that what other people. I'm at a point. I saw made a post. I can't worry about so much about what other people say. I got to look at who's out there believing it, so I know to cut them. And that's the mindset that we have to have going forward today. Again, I thank you all. God bless. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to email us at enliven, enlivengm at gmail.com. I forgot, got out of practice, so please forgive me. Charged it to my head, not my heart. Mr. Bryant, how can people follow and reach you, sir?
There are several ways. You can follow me on patreon.com, patreon.com/GG is my name. All right. The other way you can follow me is instagram.com /GG _and_cut
Underscore
.com.
It's cut underscore and underscore GG. Sorry.
That's correct.
Yeah, sorry. I'll try to make sure I had the spelling correct, so forgive me. Linda C., how can people reach you, ma'am, if they have any questions?
They can reach me at unleashthedata.com.
Okay, there you go. I love you. And Raw Silk, how can people reach you?
I could be reached on all media outlets at Raw Silk. And I also reached.
I'm sorry, you froze. Say that again, ma'am. Uh-oh.
MZ Boss Lady Silk, Ms. Boss Lady Silk at gmail.com.
Say that one more time because you froze for a moment there.
Can you hear me?
No, we hear you now.
MZ. Mm-hmm. Okay, Ms. Boss Lady Silk at Gmail and all media outlets as Raw Silk or Author Tracey Hardney-Scott.
All right. And everybody, if you want us to come back and start doing this a little bit more and things like that, we're going to still start getting some uploads of some individual comments and also our group shows and things like that. So we'll see how everything is. Y'all four stay with me and things, but everybody else.
Have a great holiday, everybody.
Enjoy.
Stay online with me, everybody.
Be safe. Be safe.
No problem. Y'all four stay online. Don't cut off. And I appreciate you all. Thank you. Oh, someone said something about to cut. Uh-oh. Lost.
They both froze, I think.
Okay, not a problem.
Oh, no. Russell's back.
Okay, no problem. Y'all three stay with me. And thank y'all so very much. And y'all, God bless. And y'all have a blessed day. Bye-bye.